Hi, and welcome back to Rational Programming. Today I want to speak about use context and use reducer. These are very, very important hooks that I found in using React and building applications. Last week, I ended my last video essentially with a question of how do I really organize all of these props and state that's being passed up and down from my highest level component down to my other components and back up again. And essentially, because if I have a really big application, this could be really hard to manage. And this is where use context and use reducer really does shine. And learning how to use it this week, I learned that it was just a cloud where we can retrieve information specific to our components and what they are supposed to look like when someone is interacting with our website. And this was the easiest and best way for me to understand how it works. And the setup was quite simple also. There were 3 steps that we had to follow for each use context. The first was to initialize the use context so that it's specific to the type of basically outcomes or state that or methods that are going to be used in certain components. So it's one use context isn't going to be applicable to all of the components. It's only going to be applicable to the components that you need them for. And for that reason, you will have multiple different types of use contexts that are initialized. So from there, once we initialize, the second step is to define the state in that use context and also the methods that we will use. And from there, we will wrap that use context in a provider. And in that provider, it will have all of our state and methods that are specific to that use context. Once that's defined, we then have the actions that the data or the methods. So for example, if you have an API request, and we also have a method that's applicable to a certain component, we will then dispatch that information to another folder, which is our reducer. And in that folder, the reducer will basically apply the actions to the state and how we want our UI to look. So once we've done that, we can go back to our highest level component, our app.js, and wrap the whole application in the use context that we defined or initialized. And by doing so, we can call in our lower components, we can call our use context hook, and basically we can pull in all of the methods and pull in all of the state that we defined in our use context cloud. And from there, we won't have to define it in props or send them up and down. We'll have just one designated specific area where all of our information that we want to use to change the way our components, our UI looks, can be in one place. And this is really, really beneficial when it comes to making your application scalable, making your application robust, and also reducing the amount of code that you would have to write if you didn't use it. So this week was very beneficial for me in learning how to really, really improve writing code in React. So thank you so much for listening in, and I will see you guys next week on another video of rational programming.